Welcome to the PLATO Online Classes Orientation module. In this video, I'm going to cover everything that you're going to need to know in order to successfully go through your classes online through our system called PLATO. The first thing I'm going to introduce you to, which should be the page that you're already on, is the PLATO Orientation module, which looks like this. This is located at missmoeller.com/PLATO students if you need it. So again, that's missmoeller.com/PLATO students, one word, just like this. Okay, so now you should already be here. The first thing I'm going to show you on the module are the couple components that are going to be located down here. Under resources and support, this is going to contain some things that you can always go back to and use later, or that you can use if you lose certain materials or if you never got certain materials. They're all going to be down here. This is your resource and support. If you ever need help as you're using PLATO, then you can always contact me using the email right here. And if you ever need those materials, they're going to be located just below the email under resources. Okay, so first I'm going to go over down here in the resources section. You should have already this form, let me see, this one. You should have the Welcome Students to Learn4Life's online classes form, and you should already have the online classes PLATO orientation notes form. Now, if you don't have these for any reason, if you didn't get them, then you can download them by clicking on the links down here. So the Welcome Students to Learn4Life online classes is here, and then you should see the PLATO orientation notes in one of the links here as well. When you click on something to download it, here's how it's going to look. You click on it like this. So let's say I'm going to click on this link right here. It's going to open up in something called Google Drive, which looks like this. If you need to download something from Google Drive, once it opens up like this, you're going to look for the download button, which is right over here. See this little download button? You can click on that to download it, and then you can save it or you can print it. To print directly, you can click on the print button. So you can do either or. It really doesn't matter. If you want to download it to keep it on your computer, you download it here. If you want to print it, then you print it right here with the little printer button. Okay, now if you download something in Google Drive, which looks like this, what you're going to see is it opens up in Microsoft Word like this, and it's going to say Enable Editing. This is going to come up later, so anytime, just to repeat, anytime that you click on a link here to open up something like an assignment sheet in Google Drive like this, then when you download it, in order to open it up in Word, it's going to look like this. You'll have to go to Enable Editing, this yellow bar, in order to work on it. There we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now, this is the Word file, and this is a PDF. You cannot edit a PDF in Word, but you can edit a Word file in Word, obviously, as you can see here. So what we're going to do first is, for this orientation session, we're going to go over some of these notes. So I'm going to actually answer all these questions for you, so you'll be able to finish them or complete them for orientation. Now, on that note, once you finish orientation, you can take as many PLATO classes as you want. So if you're currently enrolled in one but you want to take more, you should not have to do orientation twice. You can just do it one time unless you really want to go back and do this orientation again. If you want to see what other classes we offer, if you look for the under Resources, Learn4Life's PLATO online course catalog, which looks like this, here's all the classes that we currently offer. All of them should be here. Yes, there we go. So they're all here. So these are a list of all the classes that we offer in PLATO. And once you take one and do orientation, you can do as many of these classes as you want. That's what this is. Okay. Now, another side note, once you finish orientation, you will show your teacher your notes, but you will not actually give the notes to your teacher. Your teacher or the orientation advisor, like myself, will sign the paper down here. So it says orientation advisor signature. They're going to sign it. Either your teacher or advisor will sign this, but you actually keep these notes. These notes are for you. Both these notes and then also these ones you're going to keep. Okay, so this is where you get all those materials. So let's go ahead and start then with this form, and this form is where we're going to start. So the first thing you're going to do is you should have your username and default password given to you by your teacher. Your supervising teacher is the one who will give you your PLATO username and your default password once they first enroll you into a PLATO account. You may not see a website address and you may not see new password, right? So let's go ahead and see what you're going to do to fill in these two forms, right? So every time you log into PLATO, you're gonna go to your course, your school's website. Now, for this example, I'm going to be using Desert Sands website because that's the charter that I work at. However, you may work at different schools. So you might be at Assurance, you may be at Mission View. It just depends. Whatever school that you go to, you're going to go to that school's website. You may have to ask somebody to find out what that school website is. In this case, for Desert Sands, it's DSCHS.org. It stands for Desert Sands Charter High School, DSCHS.org. Again, you may have a different charter, so you will go to that web address. You also try to Google if you need to find it and find the website that way in Google. So after you Google a school's website or you go to your school's website like this, every time you log into your online classes, you're going to go to Student Portal. So school website, Student Portal. Student Portal is between parent and enrollment packet right over here. Click on Student Portal. There we go. So once you log in, now I've already created this account, so you're not going to see exactly what I see, but normally you're going to see this. This is the back end. You have to log into the back end. Now, the very first time that you log in, it will ask you to create a new password. Okay. So the very first time you log in, it'll ask you to create a new password and you click Save. So you'll make your new password and then you'll click Save. After you do that, then on this form, you're going to write down your new password here. Don't worry, your teacher's not going to keep this, so you are allowed to write down your password here. Your teacher will look at this form, but they're not going to keep it, so your password should be secure. So write down your new password after you create it. Then every time you log in, you're going to see this. So you go to the school's website, Student Portal, and then a login, and then you're going to go to PLATO. PLATO is right over here. It's the big colorful button. This is where all your online classes are. Click on PLATO, and then you'll be taken to the PLATO portal, where your online classes will be located. Okay, so now what you're going to write here, there it is. What you're going to write here where it says website address you're going to be using, you're going to write down your school's web address, which in my case will be www.dschs.org for Desert Sands Charter High School, but yours will be different. Then slash, you're going to write Student Portal. Student Portal is where you go to get all your stuff as a student. And then slash PLATO. Then you click on PLATO to actually get your online classes. So that's where you're going to put in this bar where it says website address you're going to be using. The steps you have to do, 3 steps. School website, Student Portal, PLATO. There you go. And that's then you'll be done filling out this block, and you're going to keep it so you know what your login information is all the time. Okay, so we'll go down to this section just a bit. But first, let's check out PLATO. So this is PLATO. So I have a demo student here as an example. Now, every time you have a credit in PLATO, you're going to get a credit looks like this. So it's going to have your teacher's name, the class you're in, like English, and then the credit. Like credit 1, credit 2, credit 3, credit 4, and so forth and so forth. Now, to access a credit, think of these like your credit packets, right? Like if you get a credit packet, credit 3, credit 4, whatever, these are your packets. Click on All Activities. Once you're here, when you go to All Activities, that will take you to the credit section, right? And these are all the little assignments that you're going to do to complete that credit. Okay, so look out for these plus signs. When you see these plus signs, this means that there's more stuff there. So once you go to this credit page, inside the credit folder, and you see all these little activities, click on the plus signs. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus signs right over there, plus sign, plus sign, plus sign, and here's all of my activities. Now, the way that you go through your credits in PLATO are you go top to bottom, left, right. So think of it like marching, left, right, left, right, left, right, like this. Left, right, left, right, left, right, top to bottom, right? There you go. Okay, and that's what you go through. Top, bottom, left, right, okay? Now, let's talk about the kinds of assignments that you have here. Let's go to now the online classes PLATO orientation notes that you should have, right? So we're going to fill out these notes together now. So what do I do? What do I do in this PLATO class, right? This is what you're going to answer for number 1. The number 1 rule of PLATO is, ready? And I'll type it for you. You're going to handwrite it. The number 1 rule of PLATO is print everything that is not a test. So that's what you're going to write. Print everything that is not a test. That's probably the easiest way to remember what you do in PLATO. If it's a test, you do it, but you don't print it. If it's not a test and you wrote something, then you print it, basically. That's the easiest way to remember it. Now, having that said, there are 3 types of assignments, or 3 general categories of assignments that you're going to print out in PLATO. They're called course or unit activities, lesson or offline activities, really. I might change this later, but lesson or offline activities, and then discussions. Course/unit activities are basically the same thing. They go by different names depending on the class they're in. Some classes call them course activities. Some classes will call them unit activities. Lesson activities is another category. Some classes call them lesson activities. Some classes call them offline activities, but they're the same thing. And then there's discussions, which are called the same thing no matter what class you're in, right? But these are three categories or three types of assignments that you're going to do in PLATO. So let's take a look at that right now. So basically, let's see if we can find a unit. There we go. Here's a unit activity. Again, it'll say unit activity or it'll say course activity, but it's the same type of thing. Unit or course activities are basically like the project of the course. So let's go ahead and fill that in for the first line here. This is like the project for the credit. So this is like the project for the credit. There you go. That's what we're going to write right there. Now, you will note that not all credits will have them. So if you checked out your credit right now in whatever class you have and you don't see a credit activity, or sorry, you don't see a course activity or a unit activity, that's okay. Not all credits have them. Only some have them. So what you're going to do for the next row here is you're going to type in this. There will be 0 to 1 per credit. When I say type, I mean write, sorry. So it's going to be 0 to 1. Some credits will have 0, some will have 1. On very, very rare occasion, you might have 2 per credit, but usually there's going to be 0 or there'll be 1 per credit, and usually no more than 1. And these are like the projects for the credit. So how do you do these? You look through them. Okay, let's see. Where's the credit activity? Where's the course activity? Where's the unit activity? There it is. For my class. Your class will look different. So I repeat, your class will look different. This happens to be English, which is why I see this here. So I'm going to click on this. You click on the credit activity, and this is what you're going to see. The credit or unit activity will look the exact same way. They're the same thing, just by a different name. You click on download to my computer, and you're going to download it as a Word file. So it's going to download over here. Now, if this did not work for you, then it could be because you are using a browser other than Chrome, which we'll talk about later. But Chrome is the best browser to use, and I'll reiterate that at a later point. But I'm going to click on it over here, and then it's going to open up in Microsoft Word. Now, this is what I was saying before. Anytime you open something in Microsoft Word, if you have to, and if you use Word, then you're going to have to click on Enable Editing. Otherwise, I can't type. See, if I try to type on this, it won't let me until I go to Enable Editing. There you go. Now, here's my unit activity. Now, you'll notice it has a title here. It says unit activity, and then it says the title of the unit activity right over here. If it's a credit activity, it'll say credit activity, and it'll have the title of the credit activity, but it's the same type of thing. All it is a document that gives you directions, so you read through the directions, and then you answer or do the prompt. So see, it says, for example, type your analysis here. If I were doing this activity, then I would go ahead and start typing my activity here. There you go. And that's, or my essay, whatever it asks me to do. The evaluation, this tells you how you're going to be scored on it, and that's basically it. You just fill this out, write the report or do whatever you need to do on this unit or credit activity, and then you print it. So when you're done, you go to File, Print, and then you print it. And that's all you have to do for credit and unit activities, okay? So in short, in this last bar, you're going to write this. This is how you do them. Ready? Download, complete, usually in Word, and then print. That's all you have to do. Word is Microsoft Word. So you download them, you complete them, usually in Word, and then you print them. That's all you have to do for course unit activities. There you go. So I'm going to close out of this. Don't save. There we go. All right, so that's the first kind that you're going to do. Now I'm going to exit or go back. Now the next thing you're going to do will be called lesson activities. Lesson or offline activities, but it's basically the same thing. Now, in 90% of cases, unless you're doing a math class, if you're doing a math class, this will not be true, but in most cases, this is what it's going to be. In most cases, these are found inside tutorials. So in most cases, these are found inside tutorials. So if you're wondering, where do I get a lesson activity? These are in the tutorials. Okay, so a tutorial looks like this. You see anything that has the word tutorial at the end of it, that's a tutorial. So when you do a tutorial, you click on the tutorial and then you do the tutorial and then you print it, basically, or you print the lesson activity inside the tutorial. Okay? Now, I'm not actually going to show you a lesson activity inside a tutorial because I'm going to save that for the second part of the video. In the second part of this video, I'm going to show you examples of lesson activities and where to get them. Lesson activities, all you need to know is it's the written stuff that you do inside the tutorial. So these are the written things inside the tutorial. In fact, I think I'll make a note of that on the side. These are, I'm going to make an extra line here. These are the written things inside that you do inside tutorials. There you go. So these are the written things that you do inside tutorial. Whatever you do where you type something or you write something, that's your lesson activity, and you print those out. Again, in the second part of this video, I'm going to show you examples, but I won't show you examples here until we get there. Just know that this is what they are. They're inside tutorials. Okay. So now the last thing I'm going to have you mark down for a lesson and all the offline activities are that how you do them. Basically, you complete and submit them, sometimes in Word, and then print. So you complete them and submit them, sometimes in Word, and then print them. So what this means is this. Some lesson activities look a lot like course activities. If you're doing an elective course, most of them look like that, where you download, complete them in Word, and then print them, and they're exactly the same way. Again, I'll show you examples in the second half of the video. Some, though, like for English, if you're doing English, then what you do is you complete them and submit them inside the tutorial and then print them at the end. Again, I'll show you an example of what that looks like at the end of the class, but that's all you need to know. Now, the only class that's different would be the math classes. So in most for the first line where it says, in most cases, these are found inside tutorials, in parentheses I'm just going to put except for math classes or algebra. So except for algebra. There you go. So I'll put except for algebra. If you're doing algebra classes, then your offline activities will actually be next to it. So if you have an algebra class or a math class, then most cases the lesson activity will actually be on the side over here, and it'll say offline activities. So you don't have to worry about that. Again, the second part of the video will show you examples. Okay. So now discussions. Discussions are really easy. Discussions look like this. Again, there's 0 to 1 per credit in every case. Not all classes use discussions. So most of the classes have discussions, but not all of them. But if you see one, it'll just say discussion like this. To do a discussion, you just click on it. There you go. And then you're going to look at the discussion topic on the left-hand side. You read the topic. This is your prompt. And then you respond to the topic by clicking on this. You click on this and then reply to it. So you type in your response. You're going to type in about 3 to 5 sentences for your response. Click Submit Response, Submit for scoring, and then you're going to print it. So don't worry, discussion topics are usually credit, no credit in most cases because they are subjective. So sometimes they'll ask you for your opinion on something, which is okay. So you just write 3 to 5 sentences here, submit, and then you're going to print it. To print a discussion topic, what you have to do is you have to hold down Control or Command if you're using a Macintosh or an Apple computer, but otherwise Control and then P. So Control P to print, and then it'll print like this, right? This is what you're going to see. So that's your discussion. So let's go ahead and write this down now. So ready? Discussions. These are like Facebook threads. So you know on Facebook somebody posts something, you reply to them, that's what you're doing. Next line. Let's go ahead and write this down. So these are like Facebook threads. There will either be 0 to 1 per credit. Just like with course activities. There's always going to be lesson or offline activities, but there may or may not be a course, unit activity, or discussion, depending on the class or credit that you have. So there'll be either 0 to 1 per credit. Now lastly, I'm going to add another line here, so you should see this in your paper. Another thing to note is this. Complete, or actually let's write this. Write 3 to 5 sentences for the prompt. So write 3 to 5 sentences for the prompt. The prompt is this, the discussion topic. Submit and then print. Submit and then print. To print, here's where you're going to put it. It's going to be Control P. Control P to print. Now, if you have a Mac, it'll be a Command P, but otherwise Control P to print. And that's how you print them. And that's that. So these are the 3 groups of things that you're going to do. Let me go back to exit. Here we go. Are the 3 groups of things you're going to print. So you're going to print discussion. Again, you go from top to bottom, left to right. Top to bottom, left to right. If it's discussions, you print them. Lesson activities, inside tutorials or offline activities, you're going to print those. And then course or unit activities, you're going to print those. Those are the 3 groups of things that you print, okay? All right, so now, number 3, after you print out all the types of assignments as described above, you will then need to check them off and put them in the exact same order, top to bottom, as seen on the blank for your class. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about. So, you should have an assignment sheet that's been given to you for your class. If you do not have an assignment sheet, you don't know what I'm talking about, here's where you're going to go to get it. Ready? So I'm going to go to the online orientation module. I'm right here already. Look for where it says PLATO course assignment sheets, what to print and submit to your teacher. So look down here, PLATO course assignment sheets, what to print and submit to your teacher. I'm going to click on that. When you click on it, what to print and give to your teacher, it's going to open up this folder inside of Google Drive. So here are all the assignment sheets for every single class that you could ever take in PLATO. So let's say I'm taking English, okay? So I'm going to look for English. Which English? Which class actually is this? Let me double check. This is English 11. Okay, so my class is English 11A, right? So you're going to find the scoring sheet that matches. Now, you should have this printed for you already, but if you don't, here's where you get it. So English 11A, there it is. See it? English 11A. Click on this. There we go. Here's my assignment sheet. Now, this assignment sheet gives you a list of everything that you're going to print out for each credit for English 11A. English 11B has one too. So there'll be an assignment sheet for English 11B. But for now, let's focus on this one because that's the example that I have. So you can see here, this actually shows you everything you have to print. What do I need to print out in order and give to my teacher? So I have a discussion. For credit 1, it says here's a discussion and here's the name. Here's a lesson activity. Here's what it's called. Credit 2. So I'm in credit 3. So right now I'm in credit 3, so I'm going to look for that. Credit 3, there it is. Okay. This shows me what I'm going to have to print out for credit 3. So it says unit activity, the early and mid 19th century Romanticism. Let me see if that's there. Unit activity, where'd it go? Unit activity, the early and mid 19th century Romanticism. There we go. Yep. Now there's discussion. So the thing that's underlined here is the type of assignment that it is. So this one is a unit activity. Let me see. Unit activity. Is it called this? The early and mid 19th century? Let me check. The early and mid 19th century. Yep, that's what it is. Now there's discussion. Okay, I have to make sure I print out this discussion then. Let me look for the discussion. Yep, there it is. There's discussion. Is it called this? The early mid 19th blah, blah, blah. Let me check. Yes, it is. Right? Now, there's a lesson activity. So I have 3 lesson activities I'm going to have to print. Now, if you're doing most of the classes, the tutorial has the same name as the lesson activity in most cases. So this is the beginnings of Romanticism. That's the name of the tutorial. Let me look for that. There it is, the beginnings of Romanticism tutorial. So I know the lesson activity is going to be inside there. So if you see if it says lesson activity, that means that it's going to be inside the tutorial. So lesson activities, where are they? Where's my lesson activity? It's inside the tutorial. And it's going to be inside the tutorial the same name. The beginnings Romanticism, the beginnings Romanticism. So I know where to go to get that lesson activity. Now, for English, the lesson activities have different names than the tutorials, which is okay. You go inside, it's in the same place. You go inside the tutorial, but when you print it, the name is going to be in all caps. So the name of the activity when I print it will be Analyzing the Devil and Tom Walker. That's the name of the lesson activity that's located inside this tutorial. And then I would go to print that, right? Again, the second part of this tutorial will talk about how to actually print your lesson activities and what they look like depending on the class that you're in. But I know there's 3, and I know that basically, in short, In short, I know that I'm going to have to print out 3 lesson activities from 3 different tutorials. So I know there's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 tutorials. I'm printing out a thing from each tutorial. So I'm printing out a discussion, printing out 1, 2, 3 lesson activities from 1, 2, 3 tutorials, and then the unit activity. So I have 5 things. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There they are. So basically, you print out your activities, and then you're going to check them off. After you print them, check them off to make sure you've got them all. They're all done. They're all printed. Then you want to put them in this order. So this is really important because this is going to help your teacher grade it. So read the directions here. You want to make sure that you print out everything, you put them in this order. So the unit activity on top, the discussion underneath that, and then the lesson activities of these kinds in order, in this order, 1, 2, 3 below that. So unit activity, discussion, lesson activities in order. And then you staple it as a packet and give this packet to your teacher, and that becomes your credit packet. So it's the same for all of them. So for credit 4, same thing. I print out these 1, 2, 3, 4 things in credit 4, and then I put them in this order from top to bottom in this order in the packet, staple it as a packet, and that becomes my credit 4 packet. Same thing with credit 5 and so forth, right? So that's how it goes. There'll be 5 credits in every class. 5 credits for English 11A, 5 credits for English 11B, and so forth and so forth. There you go. So these are your assignment sheets. Now, if you did not get an assignment sheet and you don't have one, the one was not printed for you, don't worry. You can print one out yourself. Same thing if you ever lose it. If you lose your assignment sheet, let me show you again. The place where you get it is here. You go look for where it says PLATO course assignment sheets, what to print, submit to your teacher. Click on that. Again, it opens them in Google Drive. You find it, you print them from here if you ever lose them. Now, for example, let me see. Let's try economics. Let me see. Is economics in here? Economics. Here's an example. Okay, so watch this. If I click on this, here's economics. I could print it. So just print them straight away from up here. You can download and print them, or just print them with the print icon to get your assignment sheets. These ones show me all the things I'm going to print inside the same tutorial, right? So I have like essay, document, art, map, essay, all the stuff that I'm going to print. It'll be called, these are the types of things they are. These are all different types of lesson activities, and this is what they're called. So if you're ever not sure what you're printing, if you're ever not sure what you're going to have to do and what you're going to have to print, these things will show you. The assignment sheets will show you what to expect to print. So if you're missing one of these things, you're like, I don't know what this is. What is this? Ask your teacher to show you, but otherwise you should see them inside of the tutorial. Most of these things will be inside the tutorial, and if they're not inside the tutorial, they'll be right next to the tutorials, basically. That's all you need to know. Like internet research projects basically are like course or unit activities, and those will be outside the tutorials. But you'll see them, so they'll all be there. Just look out. All you need to know is look out for these things. Look out for these types of things. Look out for these types of titles. They'll all be titled by the name, the title of the activity, and also by what it is. So you should be fine. Check them off, put them in this order, staple as a packet, give that to your teacher. There you go. So that's that. That's how that works. Okay. So let's go over here now. So after you print out all the types of assignments as described above, you're then going to need to check them off and put them in the exact same order top to bottom as seen on the assignment sheet. Assignment sheet for your class. Assignment sheet for your class. Note that if you lost the sheet, did not get it, you can locate and print one out again from the website listed above. That's this website, right? Right here. The website's also listed up here. So that's the website I'm talking about. If you lost it, you can print it, locate and print it out from the website above. You're going to staple the printed assignments for each credit together in this way and in this order to create a credit packet for your online course, which will then turn into your teacher. Okay, so now let's talk about tests. Now, do not click on a test yet because it'll actually make you take the test and then you have to unlock it if you fail it. So don't click on a test just yet, but let me show you what a test looks like. Here are tests, okay? Don't click on them. Let me just show you. There's a pre-test, there's mastery tests, there's post-test, and at the end of some courses, you'll have an end of semester test, okay? Here's the rule with tests. You have to complete all your tests, but you do not need to print them out. So you print out, course unit activities, lesson activities, and discussions, but you do not print tests. So you complete all your tests, but you do not need to print them out. The reason is that PLATO will give your test scores to your teacher in the back end, but PLATO will not give the lesson activities to your teachers. You have to print those and actually hand them to your teacher. But everything else as far as tests go will automatically get sent to your teacher. So you have to complete all your tests, but you do not need to print them out. Now, each PLATO course is different and may have different types of tests. Each PLATO course is different and may have different type of tests. Tests is the word. There you go. Here are the kinds of tests in PLATO. There are pre-tests, master tests, post-tests, and or end of semester tests. Not every course in PLATO will have all the same kinds of tests. They pretty much all have mastery tests. So all PLATO courses will have mastery tests, but not all of them will have pre-tests, post-tests, or end of semester tests. Only some will. So let me explain the difference. If your credit module has a pre-test, which this one does, English has pre-tests, which is the first thing that you do. You will need to complete it, but it does not count against your grade, i.e. it is offered as credit, no credit. This means you can fail a pre-test and it will not hurt your grade. So you can fail pre-test and it won't hurt your grade. There you go. So you have to do pre-test, but you don't have to pass them because these are just pre-assessments. Don't worry about them. Do them. If you fail it, that's fine. Just move on, basically, if your class is a pretest. Again, not all courses have pretests, but some will. But that's how pretests work. Now, you need to get at least 60%. 60%, or like a D minus. You need to get at least 60% or a D minus of all the questions correct to pass a test. This is every 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 questions. So you need to get at least 60% of the questions correct to pass a test. This is every 3 out of 5 questions. Now note, mastery tests usually only have 5 questions. So almost every mastery test, which are these, almost every mastery test, which is like a quiz, will have 5 questions. You need at least 3 out of 5 questions right to get a 60% and to pass a mastery test. Other tests, like post-tests and end of semester tests, will have more than 5 questions, but it's the same rule applies. You need 60% of the questions to pass. Okay, now, note, this is really important to note. PLATO's system will tell you that you need an 80% or a B minus to pass a test, which is 4 out of 5 questions. However, this is a characteristic of their system and not ours. So this is something that's built into PLATO. It doesn't matter though. For our purposes, you only need to get a D minus or a 60% to pass a test. So you can ignore what PLATO tells you about mastery and instead just focus on our standards of passing. So if you take a mastery test and says, oh no, you got less than 4 out of 5 questions, you need 4 out of 5 to get mastery, does not matter. That's PLATO's system, not ours. You can ignore that. As long as you have 3 out of 5, then that's considered passing by our standards, because our standard is 60% passing, not 80%. So you can move past that. So you're okay. Just aim for a minimum of 60%. Okay. So now, helpful tip. Here is what you should do to prepare for a test and to pass it. Good news is this, PLATO tests are all open notes. You can use your notes as you take PLATO tests, which is great. However, downside, PLATO does not let you have a tutorial open at the same time that a test page is open. So I can't have the tutorial open at the same time the master test is open. It won't let me. Even though it's open notes, I can't do that. Therefore, here's your trick. When you have a tutorial open, open up a Word document or a notepad on your computer, whatever you have, and you're going to copy over notes from the tutorials. Copy over notes from the tutorials in your PLATO course. So I'm going to, if I have this tutorial open, there's going to be text inside of here. I won't do it right now, but once you're inside a tutorial, you're going to see a bunch of notes and a bunch of text information. Just copy and paste it over to like a Word document, right? All right, then you can take the test with your open notes. There you go. So that's your bypass. You can have the tutorial open at the same time as master test, but you can copy text from the tutorials into an open Word document or a notepad document, and then when you go take the test, the master test, you can have it open. It's open notes. Okay. Now, note, save your notes. Save your notes until you are done with the whole PLATO course. Save your notes until you're done with the whole PLATO course. The reason is this, ready? Mastery tests will contain questions just about information from the matching tutorial that just preceded the post test. I'll explain what I mean in just a second, but tutorial. All right, so mastery tests take place right after tutorials. They match, they have the same names, right? This is because the mastery test, which is like a little quiz, only 5 questions, this is going to have this is going to ask you questions about information from just that matching tutorial that came before it. So this mastery test I know will have information or ask me questions about information from this tutorial. This mastery test will ask me questions about information from this tutorial and so forth. So mastery tests will contain questions just or only about information from the matching tutorial that just preceded the test. Post tests, however, post tests, these are down below. This is a post test. Not all courses will have post tests, only some will. But if you see one, this is what it is. Post tests will contain questions about information from all the tutorials in just that one credit. In just that one credit. There you go. Okay. So here we go. So basically, the mastery test of information from just the tutorial, but the post test will ask you questions about information from all the tutorials in this one credit. So this tutorial, this tutorial, this tutorial, these 3 tutorials are in the same credit. They're all part of English 11 Credit 3. The post test will ask me questions about all the information from all the tutorials in just Credit 3. There you go. So post test will contain questions about information from all the tutorials just in that one credit. Lastly, end of semester tests will contain questions about information from all the tutorials in all the credits for that course. Again, not all courses will have end of semester tests, but some will. It's like the final exam, right? So if I go back to home, I'm going to go back to home for a second. There we go. Now I don't see, this one does not look like it has end of semester tests. If there is one, it'll be at the very end of the whole course, okay? And usually the last credit will have them. So there's no credit 5 here yet, so I don't see it. But if I had a credit 5, it's usually in the last credit, credit 5. So you don't need to worry about finding it. All you need to know is if there is an end of semester test, it will be in the very last credit, credit 5 for that course. Now, end of semester tests will contain questions about information from all the tutorials and all the credits for the whole course, from credits 1 through 5. So this is why if you save your notes until the very end of the course, you'll have a much better chance of passing, of passing your post-test and a semester test. So don't lose them. When you're done with this like one mastery test, don't throw out the notes. Save them until the very end so you can do your post-test and a semester test with open notes. There you go. All right, next. If you fail a test, meaning if you get lower than a 60% or less than 3 out of 5, every 3 out of 5 questions correct, then the test will lock you out. The test will lock you out. There you go. Don't worry if this happens. So don't worry if this happens. All you need to do if this happens is just ask your supervising teacher or the orientation advisor, like myself, to unlock the test for you. So if you fail a test, you get less than 60% or less than 3 out of 5 questions, the test will lock and it won't let you take it again. Don't worry, all you do is ask your supervising teacher, ask your orientation advisor to unlock it. Ready? Note, you can retake a PLATO test as many times as you need to in order to pass it. As many times as you need to in order to pass it. So don't worry about this. I had one student retake a mastery test like 11 times before he passed it. Don't be embarrassed by that. It happens. Don't worry. But just know, if you fail a test, don't panic. You can retake the test as many times as you need to in order to pass it. You just have to keep asking your teacher or your advisor to unlock it for you if you fail it. However, note that if you unlock a mastery test too quickly, just know that PLATO may expect you to click through the previous tutorial first before the test will let you take it. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say I ask my teacher to unlock a mastery test for me. He or she unlocks my mastery test. Then I'm like, great, so I go back to take it, but it doesn't let me. It says it's still locked. Why did it say it's still locked? My teacher told me that she unlocked it for me, right? That may mean the teacher unlocked it too quickly. You're trying to retake it too quickly. If that's the case, then you have to go click on the tutorial that came just before it. And this only applies to mastery tests, by the way. But go to the tutorial that came just before it, and you just click through the tutorial. Click through the whole tutorial, all the way from beginning to end, and then go and click on the mastery test. Then it should let you access it. So that's what happens. So if your teacher unlocked it, but it still won't let you in, go through the tutorial again. Just click through it really quickly. You don't have to read through all the information. Just click through it as long as you have your notes, and then try to take the master test again. There you go. Okay. Lastly, the internet browser that you should use when you are working in Plato is Chrome or Google Chrome. I said this before. I'm going to say it again. So use Google Chrome. Better than Firefox or Internet Explorer for our purpose, or Safari for our purposes. So Google Chrome. If you don't have it, download it. There you go. There you go. Okay, now, one of the questions I get from students at this point is, what if I don't have Microsoft Word, I don't have a printer, I don't have this? If that's the case, you can work at the computer lab at your school, or you can do most of these activities at home, but then go to school to print them and just print them there if you have to. Or save them. Go home, save them as PDFs, and then take them to school, email them to yourself, and take them to school to print them. If you don't have a printer, you'll have to print them somehow, so just use the computer lab at school if you need to. Okay, now, final two questions, 6 and 7. Final two questions, 6 and 7. For these following two questions, please ask your supervised teacher or orientation advisor for what to write down. This info will not be in the video. So what I mean is this. If you ever need help with Plato, the course system, meaning the actual system of Plato like this, like let's say you don't know what to print. You don't know something's not working. You can't click on something, it's not working right? If you have a technical issue or an issue with the system of the course itself, you're going to have to ask somebody to help you with that. You could ask me. If your teacher doesn't know, you can ask me, or you can ask the whoever is in charge of online Plato courses for your school, which is usually called the online cohort member. But in my case, it's going to be me. So if you're at Desert Sands, it'll be contact Miss Moeller at kmoeller@desertsandshighschool.org. So you're going to ask your supervising teacher what you put for this, or your orientation advisor what you put for this, right? For Desert Sands, it's me. So if you're looking for my email, it's right over here. I don't mind if you ask me, but that's the person you ask if you have like an actual issue with the system of Plato itself. However, if you have an issue with the content or the subject of your Plato course, like English, math, or science, you're going to have to contact somebody else. Because I'd love to help you with math, but I'm not a math teacher. So you have to find somebody to help you with the actual subject. So ask your teacher or the orientation advisor who you go to if you actually need content or content help or subject support. Usually this will be a tutor. So for example, I do have a tutoring schedule for the people at Desert Sands. So if you're a student at Desert Sands, I have an a tutoring schedule here. So in this case, I'd look for, okay, who's highlighted for like to help me with the fashion design course? Who can help me with English 9 through 12? I would go to one of these tutors. This shows me what their name is, what they can help me in, the days and times they're available, and where they're located. You may get something different though. So keep in mind, you may get something different, but some of you will just use the tutors. So for example, I could say which tutor I'm going to go to, like tutor of English is where I'm going to go. And I put their username. I would put their name and their email or where they're located. Tutor of English, located, like such an example, Monday through Wednesday, times like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they're in the tutoring room or whatever. There you go. So you just write down something like this, not exactly this, but something like this, depending on what your teacher tells you or your orientation advisor tells you or the tutoring form. You find somebody there, and then you can put it there. So just these ones, you have to ask somebody to get the answers to these questions. There you go. Okay. So we're almost done. We're basically done. So just keep in mind your teacher or advisor will sign this, but you're actually going to keep it. In the second half of the video, when we get to the second part of the video, you're going to write down notes here about your specific type of Plato course. Specific type of Plato course means like if it's English or history or economics, In the second part of the video, I'm going to show you what you're exactly going to print out as lesson activities. And you can write that down here so you know what to do, because every course is a little different. And then that's it. Then you're basically done with this form. This whole form is done. Hooray. Oh, actually, before I do that, just so you know, some tutors, so here's the tutoring schedule. Some tutors might ask you for an online tutoring form. Not all will, though, but just if you have one, just hang on to it. You don't really need to know what this is. Some tutors ask for them, some don't. But basically, depending on your charter and everything. But if you need one, the tutor will ask for it. It will print out one for you. And then this just helps you take notes on whatever question you have. But that's basically that. On that note, if you are a student at Desert Sands or a student at another charter, you may get a student orientation schedule. And if you need support, you can actually come see the orientation advisor. So for example, I'm the orientation advisor for Desert Sands. So what that means is if you need help with PLATO, and I always tell my students this, if you need help with PLATO and you're not sure about your first credit, like, I don't know, the first credit, I might need more help going through PLATO until I get used to this, I want more help. You can just come in to see me or the orientation advisor during these hours listed here to get help. Now, that could mean that you might just want to sit here for a couple hours while you do your first credit. So like in my case, you can sit with me for a couple hours during my orientation hours. Again, even though orientation is done for you and you finish orientation, you can still come back anytime you want just to sit with me to go through your first class until you feel more comfortable. Or if you want to do the class at home, the first one, and then you come back to come to see me, I can help you put your printouts in the right order. So if you're not sure what to print out, if you're not sure how to read the assignment sheets that I showed you before, and you're not sure what to print out and what to put in what order and how to staple it, that's fine. For your first credit, you can come see me in person, or your orientation advisor in person, or your teacher in person to go through the first credit. And then after you get that first credit, and once you're more comfortable in PLATO, then you can go through the rest of the credits. So like for the first one, I get help, and then all the other credits I do completely by myself. That's totally fine. All right, so that's that. Okay, now back to this form. So now we're going to go to the bottom of this form. I'm just going to read these off to you and answer them for you. Here we go. Couple final questions. How many hours will I need to be working on my online classes each week? The average is 3 hours, but it depends on you. So for example, so I have one student who comes into my classroom and sits there for like 6 hours and does like a whole PLATO credit every day. But that's pretty vigorous. You don't have to do anything that severe. At least be working for about 3 hours at some point per week. You can do it on your own time, but around 3 hours is the average. But more or less is fine. Where do I take post-tests? I'm repeating this here just because you need to know. The post-tests are at the bottom of the credits. Remember, the bottom of the credit, there's the post-tests. End of semester tests are located in the final credit, at the end of the final credit, credit 5 for the course. But post-tests are at the end of every credit for just that one credit. So credit 3 is a post-test, credit 4 is a post-test, credit 5 is a post-test, and then credit 5 may also have the end of semester test, which is like the final. There you go. Oops. Now, what will I need to complete and turn into my teacher each week? You complete the tests, but you don't turn those in. So the answer to this is you complete and turn in all your assignments on the assignment sheet. All your assignments on the assignment sheet. I showed you the assignment sheets before. So the assignment sheets, do download them or have them printed if you need them. But the assignment sheet shows you exactly what you're going to do. But if you're not sure, just remember on this form, the course/unit activities, lesson activities, and discussions, basically. But otherwise, the answer to this is just write down all the assignments on the assignment sheets. How do I know when I've completed an assignment or a module? Now, the answer they're actually looking for on this is that, see these little bubbles here where it says not started or in progress? The answer they want is that these little bubbles fill up. However, the truth is these bubbles do not always fill up. They don't always fill up depending on certain things. So I'm going to have you write something else. I'm going to have you write when all your tests are done, all tests are done, and all assignments are printed. All tests are done, all assignments are printed. Then you're done. You give that to your teacher, you're good. How do I get a mastery test unlocked or a post-test unlocked? To get a mastery test or a post-test unlocked, ask your teacher or ask your orientation advisor, which is me. So ask teacher or ask orientation advisor. And then lastly, where do I find messages that my teacher has emailed me? Now, to be honest, I'd say the best way to get messages or to email your teacher is just email them in person or call them in person or talk to them in person. That way you know for sure they got your message, because the teachers don't always log into PLATO. Teachers aren't going to be in PLATO all the time. So your best bet is email them in person, talk to them in person, or call in person. However, if you need to see PLATO messages, here's where they're going to be. It's at the top of this board. So the email icon or the envelope icon at the top is what you're looking for. That's the answer to that. And that's basically it. That completes it. So this you also keep. You fill out these notes for your own sake, but you keep this form as well. You keep this one and you keep this one after they're signed. There you go. And that's basically that. So now in the second half of this video, I'm going to now actually go into the differences between the different types of courses. And that's the last thing you have to take notes on down here. And then you're done. So at that point, I hope you guys have a good time in PLATO. And if you do have any questions, you can email me if you need to from this orientation module. So good luck. All right, so now in this section of the orientation video, what I'm going to go ahead and do now, just to help you, is I'm going to go through a couple of the PLATO courses, just very briefly, just to show you a couple of the major differences that you may see depending on the kind of course that you're taking. So that way you know exactly what you're really going to have to print and what you're going to have to do. So for example, let's start with an English course. So if you're taking an English course in PLATO, you're going to see a course that looks something like this. This is going to be the outline of it. So basically you go through this tutorial just like you see here. Here's an example of what a tutorial looks like. So I'm going through this tutorial right now. And what you're going to see is as you go through this tutorial is going to have questions like this. You answer the questions here, submit them. Answer, submit, answer, submit. Now as you get towards the end of the tutorial, it may not be at the very end of the tutorial, but once you get towards the end of the tutorial, you're going to see this. Let me show what that looks like. Something like this. It's going to say lesson activity. Now, when you get to this point and you see lesson activity like this, you're going to see it says print lesson activity right here. So this appears towards the end of the tutorial. So what you do is when you get to this part where it says lesson activity, you complete the activity here, you read the information, complete it here, do what you need to do, submit, 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 submit everything that you need to do. And then at the very end when you're done, you're going to click Print Lesson Activity. And that will print all the work that you've done in that tutorial for this lesson activity. And that's what you're going to submit to your teacher. Now, if you're not sure what they're titled, keep in mind when you go to print a lesson activity, look for the title of the lesson activity. Like see it says lesson activity, subject and theme in the exercise. This is an example of what it will look like when it prints out. The reason I want to show you this is because you definitely want to take a look at your assignment sheet. Your assignment sheet, like I showed you before, will tell you what kind of activity it is. So it'll say lesson activity or project or notebook or course activity or unit activity or discussion, whatever it's called, it'll be titled there that it expects you to print out, the type of the activity it is, and then the title of it. So for English, the title of the tutorial and the title of the actual lesson activity are going to be different. For most courses in PLATO, it's the same. So for most courses in PLATO, the title of the tutorial and the title of the lesson activity that you do is the same thing, so I don't put different names. But for English, the title of the tutorial and the title of the lesson activity will be here. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to organize all your papers that you've printed out to staple them together for your credit packet and you need to put them in order. This is the title of the lesson activity. It's always going to be right here by lesson activity. So just keep a lookout for that. You don't need to see the assignment sheet right now because I've already showed them to you, but just this is what I'm saying right here. Just look for that title. So that is how it works in English. Then when you're done, you just click exit to get out of English. Now, alternatively, let's say you're doing an elective. So this is an example of what an elective looks like in PLATO. So you can see this elective right here. Let me see if I can minimize this. There we go. So here's an elective page, right? Now, when I say elective, electives are usually artistic classes in PLATO, like digital art or web design, or computer applications, tech classes like computer applications, computer programming, or sorry, computer science, things like that. So for most of the electives, you'll see something that looks like this. It's this tutorial block right here. So you're going to go through the tutorial in the same way. Again, very similar, just a different layout, but it's the same kind of thing as in English, which I just showed you. So you go through the tutorial, and again, I always recommend you copy some of these notes, copy this text over to an open notepad. So that way when you're doing, when it comes time to take the test or the mastery test, you'll have the information. And save all your mastery test notes till the end in case you have a post-test or a semester test and things like that. But so you're going to go through this. Now, lesson activities are located inside tutorials, and it's no different here. So here we go. This is where the lesson activities look, or what they look like when you're taking an elective. So again, you get to a certain page in the tutorial, and then it says lesson activities self-checked right over here. So for these ones you download. So in English, you do the lesson activity, like you actually do the writing inside of this page, and then when you get towards the end, you click a print button. However, for electives, for some of the classes, you actually have to download it as a Word file. Again, I recommend using Google Chrome when you're doing this, because Google Chrome will make it easier to download, just so you know, rather than Firefox or Internet Explorer. So I'm going to go Lesson Activity, Self-Check. Click here to get your lesson activity. This is what you're looking for. Click here to get your lesson activity, and then it's going to download. So now see here, I have it downloaded in the bottom left corner. Click on that, and I'm going to open it up. This is very similar to what course activities or unit activities look like. Same thing, different name. They look almost exactly the same. So you see, this is now I'm in Microsoft Word, and I can open Microsoft Word here, and you see it actually says lesson activities, and here's the title of it. So again, in this case, the title of the lesson activity matches the title of the tutorial, unlike with English, so it's pretty easy. But lesson activity, basic computer hardware. So what you do here is you open it up. You may have to click Enable Editing, which I already clicked it, but you may see a yellow bar over here that says Enable Editing. It may not let you type. Like if I try to type, it won't let me type until I click Enable Editing, which would be that yellow bar. Unfortunately, I already clicked it, so you don't see it here, but just keep a lookout for that. It should be fine. So Enable Editing. Look out for yellow. Then I can go in here and I can start typing. So you see it says blah, blah, blah information here. Type your response here. So you type in your response below here. So I can go ahead and type in here to type my response. Then unlike unit or course activities, you're going to see these how did you do check a box below. Just click on how you feel you did. So I can click on any one of these. Just click on one to indicate how you did. Same thing here. Type your response, indicate how you think you did, and so forth and so forth. Then you just print it out. To print, you just go File, Print. There you go, and that's how you print it out. So again, this is very, very similar to what course activities or unit activities look like in most cases. They're printable just like that, and you download them as Word files. So that's how most electives work for lesson activities. Now, another one is, let's take a look at health. Health is another type of course that you may take. Health is a little bit unique because for health, you actually type your notes in a box and then you print them out. Let me show you what that looks like. So here's health. This is what a health tutorial looks like. So in health, I won't actually go through the whole tutorial, but as you go through this tutorial, you're going to click through. You have these things here, the data hint you have a calculator you can use here as you work. What you're looking for is notebook. So look for notebook. The notebook in health is basically your lesson activity. I know it's a little different, but health is the only one that has it this way. So if you're taking health, you click on notebook, there you go, and this box pops up. Type in your notes here. Now when I say type in your notes, for this one, don't actually copy paste the text. Actually try to freehand, like in your own words. Copy the notes down, and then once you have your notes, you click on, see this little print icon right here, you click print to print it, and then it'll print your notes. I don't have any here, but that's it right there. There you go, notebook, PLATO Health, there you go. So that's what that is. So the lesson activities for health are really just a notebook. They're not called lesson activities. You just click on this, type in your notes from the information you're reading here, as much as is useful to you, and then click print. And that's what you turn in for credit for health. So that's health. Now, lastly, the only other courses that are a little different are going to be the history and economic courses. Let me show you what those look like. So let me find, I guess I'll do economics. Economics and history usually works the same way. And let me see if I can find that as an example. Here we go. One of the social studies. So economics or history, like U.S. history and so forth. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let's see. Here's a tutorial for that one. All right, so now I'm going to go into, this is economics, but economics and history have the same layout. Here's what they look like. So basically, it's the same thing, it's a tutorial you go through, just like before. Now, the only difference is economics and history courses in PLATO have this thing. You're going to see this bar on the left-hand side. And basically, if it's clickable, meaning you can click on it, then it means that you have to do it. If it's grayed out, like see documents and art are grayed out in this one, I can't click on them, so I can't do them. However, the only things you should ever have to print out are, if they exist in the module, you're going to have to print out documents, art, graphs, charts, maps, essay, and projects. You do not have to print out study questions. You do not have to print overview. You do not have to print fundamentals or glossary or practice test or status report. Basically, it's just 6 things in total: documents, art, graphs, charts, maps, essays, and projects. Now, when I say you have to print all those out for each credit or for each tutorial, like I said before, not all tutorials have all of them. This one only has 1, 2. This one only, I can click on graphs, charts, and I can click on essays. So I would click out, so I would print the graphs, charts, and print the essays. So the easiest way to remember is basically starting from documents, starting from the 5th one down, you print everything from documents down to the bottom except practice tests. Now, if you're not sure what you print and you're printing them out and you want to make sure that you checked off all the things you actually had to print out and you want to make sure you put them in the right order to staple as part of the credit packet, I said it before, but check your assignment sheet. That was from the earlier part of the tutorial, the assignment sheet I showed you where you check off your work. That will indicate what you're printing out. So it'll actually say documents. This is economics, science of scarcity. So it would say documents, the science of scarcity, art, the science of scarcity, graphs and charts, the science of scarcity. Whatever you have to print, it'll tell you exactly what it's expecting you to print and what you need to have printed, checked off, and put in order in that packet. So just remember, check those assignment sheets. I won't go into assignment sheets again because I showed them to you earlier, but that's in short, lets you know what you're going to have to print. And here's what they are. So for example, if I click on graphs charts, the way that this works in history and economics, you're going to get a pop-up like this. You can move it around. See, I can move around this pop-up. Then what you do is you type in your answer. So it's kind of like the lesson activity I just showed you in Word, except you're actually typing it in here. So see, it says right here, how many people live in Asia? Then I would type this in. See, I can actually type in here. I can even add space if I need to space it. There we go. So I would type in, here is my answer, yada, yada, and so forth for each answer. I can enlarge this to see. And then when I'm ready to print, when you're ready to print your activity, you go to options right over here. Click on options and then print. See? Options, print. Now this box will pop up and it say choose whether to print the image and text with or without the assignment. You always want to print with the assignment, otherwise you have to turn in. So print with assignment. Then I could go to print and click it, print right here to print it. Here's print preview so I can see example of what it's going to look like. It's going to look like this. So you don't see anything here unless I go to next page, but it'll say graphs, charts, and it'll say from which tutorial it's from. That way when you're using your assignment sheet, you know exactly what you're doing. So graphs, charts, from the tutorial, the science of scarcity. That way, when I printed them out, I'll know which order they're in. It says like page 1 of 4 right here. So I can go next page. Now I can see what I did. I can see my answers down here that I typed up and so forth. And then I can print it if I have to. There you go. So let me show you that one more time. Close. One more time, I'm going to show you really quickly. So basically, they all look very similar. In fact, I'll exit out of this one when I'm done. But I'll show you like the essay. If I click on essay, there we go. Same thing. It's going to let me pick a topic. I'm going to pick an essay on opportunity cost, let's say. There you go. Or economic decisions. You know, whatever you want to pick your topic. You get to pick your essay topic, and then you write it down here. So then I click on Write Essay. Go down here, Write Essay, click, and now I can write my essay. And then I can type it in. Blah, 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 right? Write your essay below. Now, every activity will be a little different, but they're all similar. Like all the document, art, graphs, charts, maps, essay projects, they're all pretty much the same thing. You read the prompt is what it asks you to do, then you try to follow the prompt, and then you print it when you're done. So again, whenever you're done and I wrote my essay and I'm ready to print, I go to Options, Print. Just look out for that. I'm going to print both. Do you want to print the instructions, the essay, or both? Print everything. So whatever the default is, print it, basically. Whatever the default shows. Both, print. Boop, and there you go. And then it's going to show me this. And it shows me my essay and everything like that. There you go. So that's what you're going to do for the history courses and the economics courses. Okay, so I'm trying to think. The last thing to note would just be, I suppose, math. The math courses. The math courses are pretty easy to understand, so I don't think there's too much that I have to show you there. But let me just show you an example. Let me try Algebra 1, for example, if I go here. When you're doing a course, like a math course like Algebra 1, you're going to see a tutorial, you're going to see application. The application is like the practice, which you have to do. So you do the tutorial, then you do the practice part of the tutorial in the application. Then you do your master test, and then you do an offline activity. It'll look different on your screen. This is my back-end screen, but it'll look different on your screen. But the offline activities are the only things you have to print. You don't have to print the tutorials or the application or the tests, like I said before. So math is the one unique one in that the lesson activity or the thing that you print is not inside the tutorial. It's going to be next to the tutorial, and it's going to be called offline activity. But it's basically the same thing. It looks like this. So you can see here. Here's an example of what it looks like. This one you just print out and actually just handwrite it on. You can't really type on this. So you just go down here, open it up, look for the print button somewhere. Here's a printer. And I'd print this and I'd actually write this in by hand. There you go. So again, with math, math is pretty easy to understand. Just again, look at your assignment sheets to know what you have to print. But for the math courses like algebra and everything, you do not have to find the lesson activity to print inside the tutorial. In the case of math, the lesson activities are called offline activities. It's the same thing. Offline activity and lesson activity is going to be the same thing. These ones are located next to the tutorials, not inside of them. But they're easy to find, so they'll be easy for you to see. Don't worry about that. Just know that this is what you're printing out, basically. So you just print out offline activities for the math classes. You don't have to print out tutorials, application, or anything else. Just offline activities. Print them and do them. And that's basically it. So in short, that's pretty much how all the different kinds of PLATO classes work. The math classes, the English classes, the history and economics classes, the electives, and then health. That's how they all work together. And so hopefully it was helpful. So on your note paper that you're doing for orientation, you can take notes on the different kinds, the way that each class is a little bit different. So that way, for example, if you're taking math, then you would write down, okay, I'm going to print out the offline activities, and you could write that down if you're taking math. If you're taking English, you take notes on how to print out the lesson activities in English, and so forth and so forth. And that's how that should work. So that should be it. So basically, now that you're done with all your notes, make sure you fill out all your notes. 2 of the questions you may have to ask your teacher for. So for example, I will not know, depending on the charter school that you're going to, because this video is seen by students from many different charter schools. So depending on the charter school that you're at, I don't know who's the person you're going to ask for help, because I'm not there. So I'm 2 of those questions on your notes. I think it's going to be number 7 and 8, I think. No, it says 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. But 2 of those questions, you're going to have to actually ask your supervising teacher or your orientation advisor, the person running the orientation, for an answer of who you go to help, who you go to get help for PLATO, meaning that if you have like a technical issue, you don't know what to print out, or you have an issue like related to PLATO, the system, then there's a person that you're probably going to have to go to get help with that. And then if you need help with the subject, like if I need help with the subject of math or the subject of English, then chances are you probably are going to see a tutor. Because I know almost all the charter schools are going to have tutors, but if not, then you might have a certain person you're going to see. So you're just going to ask your supervised teacher who you go to if you need help with PLATO, and who you go to if you need help with the subject for PLATO that you're taking. And then once all those notes are filled out, you're going to have either your supervising teacher or your orientation advisor sign it, but you keep it. The signature is just for your records, so we can indicate later that you have done orientation. So you can get the signature, but you actually keep these notes. They're for your reference, so you know exactly what you're going to have to do. And that's basically it. So I hope that was helpful. And if you have any other questions that are not answered here, please feel free to contact me via the PLATO orientation module page if you need to. But good luck with your PLATO classes. I hope everything goes well.